Investor uncertainty over Donald Trump's tariffs was again on display overnight, though, with huge swings on Wall Street. There were short-lived gains amid reports that the White House would consider a 90-day pause on the tariff action. Now, those were ultimately dismissed by the White House as fake news. And the US president is now threatening even higher tariffs on China. America's editor John Lyons joins us now. John, Donald Trump doubling down on these tariffs. What reaction is he getting from markets, from other leaders, even from the Trump faithful?
Well, Gemma, I think a lot of people are still in shock. Donald Trump had talked about tariffs and we all knew he was going to do something on this based on what he'd said. But I think the extent of it, how wide-reaching it was, how deep a lot of it was, hitting some countries like Vietnam with as much as 47% tariffs, hitting China with 34%, hitting countries like Australia. There's a minimum. I mean, like the UK and Australia are hit by 10%. We're seen as relatively good tariff citizens, so we get the bare minimum of 10%. But obviously the stock markets around the world are an indication of the fear, the uncertainty. People are nervous. And it shows you how interconnected we are in the world today. The average Australian now is poorer in terms of if they have superannuation, which most working Australians do these days. The average Australian is poorer today than they were this time yesterday because of Donald Trump.
How is China reacting to all of this?
China will now be the key country to watch. China, the latest we've seen now, I mean, the chronology, of course, is Donald Trump fired the first shot. He put 34% tariffs on all Chinese goods coming into America. China responded with the same amount, with 34%. That appears to have outraged Donald Trump, which might say something about his state of mind. He's very angry that China did exactly what America had done to it. So he's now threatening that he's going to hit China with an additional 50%. Now, I think if he does that, that's when we get into a really damaging, nasty trade war. This is the beginning of a tariff war, but we get into a serious one because a lot of Chinese debt underwrites America. A lot of America's money comes from China. Now, China can play the ultimate card here. They can start saying to the United States, we're going to stop lending you money. We're going to stop propping up the United States. If that happens, there's no indication yet, the Chinese haven't said that yet, but if that happens, we are in really dangerous territory.
Now, John, to the Middle East, Donald Trump says that the US has begun direct negotiations with Iran on its nuclear program. Iran's foreign minister says Iran and the US will meet in Oman on Saturday for indirect high-level talks. What is going on here?
Well, again, Gemma, this is the world of Donald Trump. On any other given day, that would be major, massive news. But with Trump and tariffs, that's overriding at the moment Trump and Iran. What has happened is, it's interesting, after a meeting in the White House between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, they announced, Donald Trump, the White House announced that they were beginning direct talks with Iran, which is rare. Since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, the United States has never or rarely had direct talks with Iran. That will all be about Iran's nuclear program. That's going to be this coming weekend, those talks in Oman. Iranian and American officials will meet. Now, America's bottom line, it's interesting, straight after Benjamin Netanyahu, because Israel's primary foreign policy objective, having lived there for 6 years, is that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. And so it's clear that the Americans will come to those talks with the basic position to Iran: you cannot have a nuclear weapon. Your nuclear program cannot develop to the point. It's on the brink of becoming a nuclear armed state, but it's not quite there. It's got a nuclear program. It says it's civilian purposes. The United States and Israel say it's possibly for war purposes. So the Americans, I think, on the weekend will say to the Iranians, desist and stop. Now, if the Iranians say no to that, we've got a confrontation in the Middle East, a new one. If the Iranians try to say, OK, we're prepared to accommodate that, because under Obama, President Obama, the Iranians did negotiate a nuclear deal. Now, Donald Trump's been opposed to that, so it'll be fascinating to see what the Americans ask for this coming weekend.
And John, on Netanyahu, I mean, this is Benjamin Netanyahu's second visit to the White House since Donald Trump's re-election. What was of note from that meeting between them?
I think what was of note was the fact that the main issue coming out of that was the Iran issue, the meeting with Iran. As I say, the fact that that meeting has been the first direct talks for a long time, straight after a meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister, says something's going on. Now, the Israelis and the Americans at the moment, Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, are very, very close, much closer than Joe Biden was with Benjamin Netanyahu. And so, you know, the Israelis feel emboldened by Donald Trump. You can see what they're doing in Gaza at the moment. They are doing things that they would not have dared to do under Joe Biden. They are essentially taking land at will. They are bombing rubble. More and more children are being killed by Israeli and American bombs in Gaza, whereas under Joe Biden, he did say to the Israelis, you are indiscriminately bombing, therefore killing women and children. Donald Trump's not going to come at that. So the Israelis feel absolutely emboldened with Donald Trump in the White House.
And Israel and the US very close, as you say, John. But yet, and rounding back to the tariffs now, Israel getting 17% tariffs as opposed to that baseline 10% that other countries such as Australia got. What did we hear on that? Were there negotiations? Did we get anything concrete on that?
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu is the first world leader to see Donald Trump in person since the tariffs, and he asked for Israel to get some sort of relief in the tariffs. Donald Trump didn't give a really strong or straight answer, but essentially indicated no, that you're getting no special exemption. That's consistent with the White House line. So, but the Israelis, I think, got what they wanted. They wanted the action on Iran. That means so much more to them than tariffs. And I think they'll take the Iran initiative now, and like all of us, like Australia and other countries, they'll keep working away on trying to mitigate the tariff harm.